Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Paodcast, presented by the Daily Pao.
This is Pranati,
Amit,
and Purva, and we're from the dailypao.com, a Bombay-specific food and culture website, and this is our weekly podcast, the Paodcast. Now, this episode is an installment of Bombay Binge in which we talk about food in the city, and today we're going to tell you about the best and worst bars and restaurants that have opened in the city in the last 6 months. So stay tuned for Bombay Binge.
Bombay Binge.
So on Bombay Binge, this episode, we're going to be giving you our half-yearly roundup of the best and worst bars and restaurants that have opened in the city so far. Purva, you're our food reviewer. Do you want to start by telling us the places you loved and hated?
well, you've already talked about the places you loved, right? You did an episode where you talked about Tag and Clearinghouse and The Blue.
Amit has very helpfully drawn up a list of the reviews we've done because my memory sucks, and casual dining is obviously still the ruling trend when it comes to restaurants in Bombay. Although we've had Estella, which opened in Juhu in place of Oris, that was really pricey, and the rest are all casual dining. And
What
I
about
think
Clearinghouse? I mean, wouldn't you call that like...
I would,
Also kind
the
of
thing
fine
is, you
dining.
can wear anything to Clearinghouse. I'm talking in terms of the whole sort of the feel of it. You can go
but I don't
fairly
think in
casually
Bombay,
dressed.
for instance, I think fine dining is more
Are we
in terms
looking
of
just at
pricing.
prices?
Yeah, because it doesn't really apply. Because you can walk onto the table in shorts, and I'm sure they'll like not...
I'm sure you can walk into any hotel in Bombay in shorts and it would be...
On the
it'll be
contrary,
okay.
if you go to
can't do
Raspberry
Raspberry.
Rhinoceros, they will tell you that you can't go in
right.
shorts.
Yeah, okay, I suppose the Clearinghouse, I still wouldn't say it's like fine dining, not like the way Hemant Oberoi and Estella are.
Yeah.
But yes, it's a pricey restaurant. And what we have seen a lot of is now multi-cuisine has given way to globally inspired plates, which is something we discussed even on the last episode with Manu. So that essentially means that you're not necessarily giving there's no like a Thai section on the menu or a Japanese or whatever, but every dish has like multiple elements like from different cuisines. So that's what's the...
Well, I mean, that's a nice way of putting globally influenced. The other way of seeing it as fusion.
Yeah,
Which is very...
it is fusion, but it's a lot of it does work. So if you have been keeping track of our podcasts, we had one episode where we highlighted our some of the restaurants that we really liked, and the Blue in Bandra, which is a
Thai and Japanese place.
I think that's been a real hit, and it's something that we keep going back to. The food is consistent, it's very flavorful, it's pretty authentic, and they've maintained that over the last 6 months. I've been a lot from the time we've reviewed it, and so yeah, that's definitely one of the better ones. The Clearinghouse is great when you can afford it. I like the appetizers and the desserts a lot. The entrees, I think, Pran, you mentioned you tried a few, and
they were pretty good.
Yeah, and it's a great looking place, nice place.
It's an occasion dinner place.
Estella, which is also, it has a lot of mood because it's by the sea, and they have this nice outer deck and really dim lighting. I mean, at some point you can't even see what you're eating, but great atmosphere.
Have the celebrities discovered it yet?
I've been once. It is a very pricey place to go to. So,
well, I don't know if the celebrities have discovered it, but some politicians have discovered it because recently it was in the news because one of them was demanding a steak in the restaurant and some
steak in the restaurant,
something
not
like
a
that.
Steak, not like a cut of meat,
not
but
a cut of
steak.
meat, not a
like
yes.
I want to own part of the restaurant just because
restaurant.
I am a politician.
Exactly. This is Narayan Rane's son, Nitesh Rane. So I don't know how that ended up. Apparently it was amicably sorted, but the restaurant did have to pay him something.
What?
Yes.
Whoa.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah, no,
Ridiculous.
okay. Yeah, I forgot what I wanted to say, but...
Well, I mean, because Oris was like this Bollywood haunt is why I asked.
So I'd have to go back to be able to comment on that, but...
Or maybe you can't see them because they're like, it's so dark.
It's really dark there, but the food was decent. I can't say it was fantastic, but it was decent.
It
I
also
gave it a
claims to be
decent review.
Australian.
It's not Australian.
Okay.
It's definitely good for it. Thanks for bringing that up, Amit. It's definitely not Australian. A lot of their ingredients are, they claim that they've sourced it from Australia and New Zealand. So you have like a New Zealand lamb rack and some Australian scallops and stuff. But
Okay.
then there's no way of verifying this. So I
It's just
think
justifying the price. I
it's
suppose.
justifying the price, exactly. So that was for as far as fine dining went. Hemant Oberoi opened in BKC last month. We haven't reviewed it yet, but also pretty hefty pricing. If you just look at the menu in Zomato, you'll get an idea. And even he, for someone like Hemant Oberoi, he also has globally inspired plates. I mean, he's taken inspiration from Peru and Southeast Asia.
Yeah, that
So,
seems to be the
you
new
know.
kind of Peru seems to be like the new inspiration for everybody, right?
Yeah, I guess because, we've had no luck with Mexico because ingredients are always such a pain to find, or I'm not sure what it is, because now avocados are fairly easily available, and that's pretty much like the cornerstone of the cuisine. But we've had two fairly decent vegetarian restaurants and fairly experimental. Candy and Green, which is at Breach Candy, and Tag, the Gourmart Kitchen, which is in Lower Parel, which is housed inside the Tag Art Gallery in Kamla Mills. And again, there's no particular genre of cuisine that either of them sort of follow, but very interesting plates, nice, accessible food, decently priced.
I mean, Candy and Green actually sounded pretty good. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not rarely tempted by vegetarian restaurants, but it
Yeah.
sounded pretty good. Actually.
Just reading their menu, even if you hadn't read the review, just reading their menu, you'll be like, hey, I really want to try this place out. And that's exactly what I thought of Tag. Now, the only problem at Tag is that their portions are quite small, and a lot of the food is just small plates there, which I think is a grouse that a lot of people who have eaten at Tag have, is that it's just slightly confused, like what is its identity? Is it just trying to be like a quick lunch spot, which is why the emphasis on small plates? So yeah, I guess there's a bit of an identity crisis, but the food is tasty. Like, I found no complaints with whatever I ate. It was really experimental. And at Candy and Green, a lot of their offerings are gluten-free and vegan, and you never... Like, I wasn't paying attention to that sort of labeling, but everything I ate was really tasty.
Right.
And it's a nice setting. I wouldn't recommend sitting in the air-conditioned area, but they've put in a little bit more effort. They have a terrace, and you'd think that in this weather, look, I don't want to sit outdoors, but it was fairly breezy. It's a great place. They only serve wine. It's a great date spot as well. So they have both food, it's a fairly guilt-free meal, and the ambience is quite nice.
I'm sure
And
all
parking
the-
should not be a problem
Parking
because it's
isn't
in a car park.
It's in a parking lot. And I'm sure all the mod good Jews in the area
That
go
place
there.
is so
Always
crowded
full.
every time I pass by, because I live quite close to it, and every time,
Yeah.
like around 1 o'clock at night, if I'm coming home, I see these sort of like swarms of people standing outside, and they go. I mean, there's a bunch of restaurants and bars in there, none of which I think except Until Candy and Green is anything that I think that we regularly would go to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What's recently opened that I have liked, I've been twice. We haven't reviewed it still, but Slink and Bardo, which just opened in Worli. Now there's a Canadian restaurateur and a French chef who are leading. They're the team behind Slink and Bardo, and I think
They were also at Le Bistro du Parc.
yeah,
in
so they
Delhi.
were managing Le Bistro
Yeah.
du Parc in Delhi, which had really good reviews. Slink and Bardo has replaced Cafe Nemo in Worli.
which replaced Cool Chef Cafe.
Which replaced Cool Chef Cafe. So Cool Chef Cafe didn't have a very long run, and it was pretty poorly managed, so I wasn't surprised. Cafe Nemo lasted fairly long, but again, for a gig venue and a bar, they couldn't sustain it too long because of the location.
It's at the
It's
start
off the
of
radar,
Worli
yeah.
Koliwada.
Yeah, and they have a valley and everything, but it's a bit out of
Yeah, I'm really
the way
surprised
to
that
get
these guys chose this location after the kind of history that it's had.
Yeah, and they've really transformed the place. I mean, all three of us have been there, and it's beautiful. It's like this, everything is just this sort of
It's like a maze of rooms.
It's a maze of rooms, and it's
Basically,
a
they've
muted
converted. I
green
think
color, and
as it is, it had 3 rooms. Now they made it 4 small rooms.
yeah,
or
and they're all
one.
connected, so there's no
Yeah.
doors between them, which is great. And the lounge is particularly, like, it's my favorite part. It's done up by an interior designer who's employed with Good Earth, or she helps Good Earth, is what I was told. And it has that sort of, the vibe. There's a lot of potted plants. Lighting is low. You have these really sexy velvet couches. So it's a great date spot. And they have an interesting alcohol menu. The pricing is good. The pricing of the food is also great. But what I realized on my second visit is that they're able to charge what they are because their portions are tiny. And they say that, the staff announces it at the beginning of the meal that, like, we're a French restaurant and our focus is on small plates. So maybe you want to get a couple more, because you all will be hungry. And a lot of their preparations are fairly rich. Now, if you see, like, the baked potato or the potato dauphinoise, which Pranati loves saying, there's a lot of butter, a lot of cheese.
Yeah, it's the best thing on the menu.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
By default, it's the best thing. Even if I make dauphinoise at home, it'll taste great.
No, their
All you need is one small aubergine.
Their brie and phyllo pastry was fantastic. They have they do fish really well. And their veg appetizers are also great. So yeah, the pricing is good, but like I said, the portions are quite tiny, so that's one complaint. But it's a really pretty looking space. You don't realize that there's Worli village outside of this, so you kind of forget where you are. And so far, I mean, they're only a week old, so it's a bit early to comment on consistency. But they've generated a lot of interest also because the city is so starved of, restaurants that are focused on any one thing. And I think there's value or there's merit in doing something.
Their bar menu, though, looks, I think, a little not just beyond, like, France, because they have, like, pisco sour and they have...
Yeah, which is great, right? I mean, you just don't want to be drinking wine. I mean, that's kind of, like, limiting. And they have, like, a gin turmeric cocktail. They have, like, a lavender pisco sour. They have your old-fashioned. So they have all of that. But like I said, it's... What's working for them is that they're focused on this one menu, on this one cuisine, and they're doing it fairly well. And they've also got the right amount of pricing and good service. They've thrown that into the mix.
But
so it's
when
working.
you, like you said, that if you sort of added it up, would it still be like your bill? I'm guessing it would be fairly high,
it
right?
comes
because
up to...
you look at things individually and they don't look that expensive.
Yeah, especially when you go in a group. But if you're going as two people and you can limit yourselves to 2 plates and 2 drinks, then you wouldn't be raking up that much of a bill. So it's also an appetite thing.
Well, Amit, you've been reviewing... I mean, you review bars for the site. So, I mean, why don't you talk about... and you usually have terrible things to say about all the bars you review.
Unlike the restaurants, and I think that there have been a couple that you guys haven't mentioned, like even the not so great ones, I mean, are actually, I think, better than the bars. Like, you'll have been to places like Shizusan and Kwai Kitchen, that, like, these sort of Asian places that actually are actually not bad. But, like, the bars, I mean, it's really been slim pickings this year. And, like, the sort of trends that I've seen, like rooftop bar seems to be a thing.
Yeah.
I guess even though they don't really have much of a view, because the sort of Bombay, what do you see? You just see like under construction buildings. Especially a lot of these are in like Lower Parel and Worli, and so I'd say that out of like the best of the worst bar that I've been to so far this year has been Sway. SWEY, which is in Atria Mall.
Best of the worst is really mean.
Which has been opened by the guys who run Copa and Dishkiao, and they've obviously had like experience as this. And what I like about it is that it's kind of focused. I mean, it is a rooftop bar. They don't, they have lots of room, although they don't have much of a view. It's getting like a lot of different kind of crowd. Like I saw, like there were young people, there were like slightly older groups out for dinner, but it's got like a pretty nice vibe. The service was great, very attentive. The cocktails, and like they do a kale cocktail, which I thought was a really unusual ingredient to put in
disgusting.
there. But it actually wasn't bad because it was a kale and cucumber, whatever in the mix. I mean, I think I liked that sort of slightly bitterness of the kale because it was something different from what you have usually. And yeah, I think that this place was really I'd say, whatever. It was like the place
best of the worst.
Yeah, best of the worst. I mean, like the other rooftop bar that I went to. But I have to say that all of these places I'm going to mention, they were all packed when I went there. So clearly, I think that reviewing bars is a bit like reviewing Bollywood films. Like sometimes you wonder, like, who am I doing this for? Because clearly the public doesn't like really care about things like quality. They just want like a place to hang. So like Verbena, which is called they call themselves a brew pub and a sky garden. Actually, they're neither, because they haven't got a brewery license yet. They haven't got, they are a rooftop, but the entire thing is covered with netting. And because it's a sky garden, all of it is sort of covered in this green plants. Like it's like everywhere you look, like these sort of curtains and rows of plants. And it's like one of those places just wants to be everything to everyone. They've got like a dance floor next to the inside dancing inside the restaurant section.
But there were also children.
Where there were children dining, and the dance floor was empty. It was really weird. They were playing like this nightclubby music. There was like flashing lights. It was just strange. And outside actually it's a little more normal. It's like a regular lounge. And the one good thing about them though is that they have a few interesting cocktails. They have like what they call botanical inspired like these concoctions, which actually weren't bad, I have to say.
Are they picking the herbs
they haven't been able to pick them from their garden because apparently it was too difficult to maintain. But they're still trying to be slightly inventive with it. I mean, they kind of use, different ingredients. And like their cocktail menu is literally 6 cocktails. But like I tried 2 of them and they were not bad.
But generally, what has been the, verdict on cocktails across the bars that you have reviewed?
They are usually bad.
That's what it sounded like from your reviews. Kind of like, oh God, we're
because
not really having a
I've
good
had
time
like
with...
such disappointing experiences at almost every place that I've been to. Even Theory, which has got like a lot of buzz, which is in Kamla Mills, right next to what is that? The Tham's place, Coco. And the cocktails are not bad, but they're so, for the price, they're just like ridiculous. I think that with tax, their cocktails go above 1,000, and they were just not like anything that I'd go back for. The place looks decent, like it's got a really nice large bar with these sort of protrusions. So if most people just congregate around the bar because unlike most bars, it's not like a flat sort of rectangular thing. You get your own little niche that you can stand at, and it's got that little supposed Manhattan vibe. I don't know where,
When was the last time you went to
I
Manhattan?
have not been to Manhattan, but I have to say that this is what some people said it was. But yeah. And then the other thing is that people are still opening retro bars. Yeah. And I would think that by now we live in a post-ironic world. Somebody would open a retro bar and like be slightly, have a different take on it, like, a little tongue-in-cheek. But no, these are regular retro bars that play like music from Toto's and Hawaiian Shack, because we don't really have them. And so there's one called Door Number 1, which is in the same lane as Doolally in Bandra.
Did they play Summer of '69 when you were there?
One of them did. I just don't remember which one.
Oh,
but I'm sure
could have been Raz.
Guessing. No, Raz actually does not. Like, I'll come to Raz. I think I'll leave Raz for last. But the 2 that I've been to, one is Door Number 1 in Bandra, and the other one is Stables in Andheri East. Now, Door Number 1, like, there was actually nothing there that I'd say there was anything that sort of distinguished it. Neither the soundtrack, neither the decor. The decor sort of had like this retro office furniture, the kind that Social has. And then of course, it had like, all your typical elements of like vinyl records and those kind of things. They have even like a section with like books, which has now become like the thing that you have to have a shelf with books.
Even though no one's reading
even
them.
though nobody's reading them. So there was actually, strangely enough, like absolutely nothing distinctive. Stables, on the other hand, I have to say, was a little more...
The worst of the lot.
It was the worst of the lot, actually. Yeah. But when I got in there, it looks like this English pub. It kind of looks like this, it's all wood. They haven't gone overboard with the decor. Like, there's some subtle elements, like the stained glass horse heads. But like even the music, I don't know whether the DJ like that day was decided to like, have like be particularly creative, because he was playing like stuff that you don't normally hear. He wasn't playing some, he was playing like some 1990s stuff. And otherwise retro stuff, it tends to be very much concentrated in the 80s and 70s. So this was kind of like, so when we got there, we were thinking, okay, this is not so bad. And then everything that we ordered, like from the cocktails to the food, was just horrible. And it was like just, I have to say, just like the nachos were stale. It was like just down to basics, that it was so bad. And I don't think, like, firstly, I think Andheri East deserves better.
I think Andheri in general has a lot of suspect bars.
Yeah, in fact, there's been a bunch of them we haven't reviewed. I mean, places just keep opening and shutting there.
Yeah.
And
that's a call we take. I mean, a lot of people ask, how come our coverage there is limited? It's because
we know that it's not going to last or be around for
limited.
too long.
Yeah.
But tell us about Raz, which was the big opening this year.
It was the most hyped sort of opening, I think, as far as bars was concerned, mostly because, it was coming back after so long. But as anybody who's been there would know, that it's like basically, it's not at all like the Raz of old. The Raz of old, I think there was a lot of nostalgia attached to it. It was very sort of slightly grimy, slightly dingy. And this is a really sort of sanitized, reworking of what it used to be. What they've done is they've essentially rebranded every section of Juhu Hotel where Raz used to be and called it like Raz. So there's like there's the indoor section, which is the bar or lounge, which used to be what Raz is, which also used to have like this mezzanine, which apparently is now a members only section. And I don't know, I hope they...
Yeah, who would want to be a member of Raz?
Yeah. And then they have the outside alfresco section, and there's another little air-conditioned thing to the side of it, which I think used to be like a cafe, which is now they call a bistro. And all of these have like different menus. Oh, and there's a fifth VIP section, which is right near the sea, and like they have like a minimum spend of some 10,000 rupees or some insane amount. And all of these have different menus, and you can order from any menu that you like. But again, the cocktails there were just so bad. They're not even worth talking about. The food actually wasn't that bad. It's also, the menu has apparently been conceptualized by Ranveer Bra, who did Tag the Gourmet Kitchen. And really the best thing about Raz is the location, just like with Estella, the fact that it's by the beach. And what you can do though, is in the part of it is is the VIP area. You can take your drink and walk up and just stand by the seaside, which is stand by the little partition that overlooks Juhu Beach, and which is what most people are doing. And that's really, the 5 minutes that I spent there were like the best of the night, because I think we have just such limited access to places like that. That was really the nicest part of it. And then they had this gig there just on the weekend, which I don't know why anybody would do an outdoor gig in May, in the middle of May, the heat of May. But again, just the fact that it was a Levi's gig, they were celebrating the anniversary of the blue jean, the 501 blue jean. And there, at some point when the sun was setting and they had like these fairy lights all over, it just looked really magical. It really looked like, you could imagine you were in Goa at that point, at that day. And the fact that, I suppose that's why they decided to do it at Raz.
It's like the power of wishful thinking.
Yeah,
people in Bombay.
Yeah, that you just want to be anywhere else, I suppose. You want to be in France when you're in Worli Village. You want to be in Goa when you're in Juhu. So that is really the USP of this new Raz, because it has anybody who went to the old one. I don't really know whether you want the old one back, because it was, this grungy sort of, it was basically a place for metal and rock music, and they haven't had any metal gigs there as far as I know. And I think this is like Raz for the millennials. And and the reason why I'm saying that, why I think that it would be great if we had more venues like that, but like a metal gig would just seem out of place in this new Raz. And I think that, maybe they can do it in the outside section like they did this special thing, but definitely not in the bar, where I think they're just going to do electronic gigs just like every other bar out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but like I said, I'd probably go back to Raz, but only for a gig.
And to imagine that you're somewhere else.
Yeah, somewhere else, but not for the,
not for the food or the
drink. Not for the food or the drink, yeah. So, I was hoping that, there's more interesting things to come in the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, restaurants are not doing a bad job of drinks, as we've seen at Coco, as we've seen at Slinkin Bardo now, as we've seen...
we'll see what Toast and Tonic has to do. They've got this gin special menu.
Yeah, they've got a complete gin cocktail menu. They're making their own tonics. Even health-oriented restaurants like 212 All Good are making their own tonics and serving special, like what Manu called the gin revival. So I think that your... cocktails are a better bet at restaurants now, is what it looks like. But yeah, that's it for our 6-month update on what's happening in the food and beverage scene.
And you can read all these reviews and rants on the website.
Yeah, and leave us comments. Tell us what you think. We'll be back next week.
For more on what's happening in this city, read thedailypao.com. Also subscribe to our newsletter on the website. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're The Daily Pao. And you can find this podcast every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app that you prefer, and on thedailypao.com.
The Paodcast is an IVM production, and if you like our show, you should check out Geek Fruit with geeks Tejas, Jishnu, and Dinkar as they discuss the world of science fiction and nerd culture.
Excuse me भैया, excuse me.
बोलिए मैडम.
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वेक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, थिंग्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर सकरबर्ग है और द फैन गराज है. आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम. आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप. सब आपकी उंगलियों पे.